Well, I'm here in the Old King's Head, right by London Bridge Station, with Gretchen Heffernan, the co-founder of Backlash Press, which here in 2015 has just launched. Gretchen is a poet, novelist, and a publisher, of course. She's the author of a couple of fantasy titles, The Book of Dirt and The Book of Insects, and has a degree in creative writing and modern poetry from Vermont College, which I just checked this morning is not in Canada, although I'm sure everybody thinks it is. And she's also about to start a postdoc in creative and critical writing from Brighton. And Backlash has a very good About Us page, which is, I've never seen a About Us page like this, but it includes the lines, pledge allegiance to no tribe, instead lick all corners, accept the distasteful along with the delicious as knowledge, the grotesque symbolic and the shambled idyllic, which would be a good tongue twister.
It would
if I had a few more pints. But thank you for coming. And now, unlike a lot of the other interviews I've done, the first question is it's actually about my first impression. How I found out about Backlash Press was a London Tube advert, something that most small indie presses can only dream of. So can you just tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yes. We were really lucky. I had a friend who was working alongside that campaign with Microloan, and when we spoke about it, and I realised that they were promoting African women starting their businesses,
Yeah.
I felt that that was something that Backlash should be involved in. And so we had to fast forward our business launch by about 6 weeks, but that was worth it.
Yeah.
Because obviously we generated publicity, but also we were able to begin Backlash through a humanitarian cause, which represents the way we want to continue with the press. So it just seemed like a good way to begin, so we meant to continue.
Gretchen has co-founded Backlash with Joseph Victor Milford, and he's based in America.
He is, yes.
Yeah. And so taking a step back, well, why did you and Joseph set up Backlash?
Initially, it was because we wanted to combine the spoken with the written word. And we felt as though there was a gap in the publishing world. And basically, I suppose the spoken word, and it sort of starts from the inside, or starts from the outside and moves in, whereas the written word does the opposite. It starts from the inside and moves out. And it affects the reader and the audience in different ways.
Yeah.
But oftentimes, you'll find that publishing houses either concentrate on one or the other. And again, often you'll find that people who are spoken poets or poets that, writing poets, will come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so we just thought it would be quite an interesting project to bring those two things together. The second reason is that we were becoming increasingly saddened by how commercialized the bigger publishing industry was becoming. And so it meant that we felt as though there could be a writer of talent, but with limited mass appeal that wouldn't necessarily be heard. And we wanted to rectify that in our own small way. In particular with poetry, because poetry is, often represents the people's voice. And so we wanted to create a company that enabled that to happen.
So Backlash is focused on poetry
Initially, yes, it is, because that's what we know.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to start small, but we do have a bigger agenda.
And so this is your first publication. So this is the Backlash Journal #1. And so when did this come out?
That came out in August.
In August. August this year. So what was your aim with this?
A couple of things. One was we take open submissions, and we welcome submissions from any background on any topic, provided that it doesn't cross the line of slander.
Yeah.
Also, we wanted it to be quite a visual thing, so it's full of surprises.
I've never seen something like this before. I'm going to hold this up.
That's our manifesto.
That's the manifesto.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in on that?
We've taken a lot of care with the design.
Yeah.
On the back, so it's published quarterly.
Yeah.
And on the back, there will always be something that connects all 4 journals.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you it's in the November issue, but it's another manifesto, not ours.
Really?
But, yeah.
Ah.
So it's quite interesting, the fine print version.
And you're at the beginning of this sort of journey, having launched this year.
Yes.
What have you learned so far? What are the main things?
I would say, put aside, my agonies with WordPress, Excel,
I know all of
time
that.
management.
Yeah.
Put all of that aside, I would say actually we have learned an awful lot through writing the manifesto.
Yeah.
Because, which isn't obvious when you read our manifesto, but it actually grounds us. Obviously it's what we believe in, but also it almost represents the type of writing we'd like to see.
Yeah.
So in that way, works a bit like a mantra we're sending out. We also learned an awful lot through writing a very strict business plan.
Very good. You're the first person to talk about a business plan in these interviews. Now, speaking every advice to every young publisher out there, write a business plan. They never want to do it. Every person I've spoken to said,
I might be the only poet that is
You might be ever in the history of poetry and publishing. You're probably the only one.
Creative people really want to help other creative people.
Yeah.
So provided that you've put the work in, it's amazing what you can achieve when you just ask.
Yeah.
But putting the work in first is key.
It's interesting though, because there's an interesting distinction. Say I just wanted to be a writer and publish books, get someone to publish my books. Not that many people would help me, I think, when I was starting out. Compared to when I was at that stage when I was, about 6 years ago, I said I want to set up my own company. And I talked to other people who run companies, creative companies, and they're all very happy to help and give advice. I think it's quite different when you're the person who's saying, well, I want to try and give a forum for these people, for this type of work. You'll probably get a lot more support than if I'm a poet, among thousands of poets.
Yeah.
So this might be a tough question because you're at the start of your journey in publishing. But what sort of advice would you give to anyone else out there who's got a sort of twinkle in their eye?
Right. Apart from speak to you.
Well, I know everything not to do.
Yeah.
But
which is just as valuable.
It is just as valuable. But what would you say to them?
I actually, along those lines, I would say to remember that everyone working within the independent publishing sector is there because they love it.
Yeah.
And also are usually writers, so cut from the same cloth. So they'll be in good company.
Yeah.
And again, have a big idea, teaching boundaries, what we want to achieve through our fiction and spoken word, all of it. This is a huge idea, but start small, meaningful, and put yourself out on a line.
Yeah. Has starting this project and putting Journal 1 out there, has it changed to your attitude to writing? Anyone?
It has, because now I read my writing as a publisher.
Yeah.
And, that is good and bad. It does mean that I think, I won't give myself this, poetic license.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading it as a publisher.
Yeah.
So I almost have to put one hat on and at a time take the other off. And that's just a discipline that I'll have to learn. I'll learn it.
Yeah.
It's fine, but it has changed my writing. Yes, collaboration with other artists has raised my creative bar
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
for the better, I would say.
You haven't got the monstrous ego yet.
I don't have hopefully I won't have a monstrous ego.
Well, you have to have a bit of a monstrous ego.
Well, maybe I'll have like a closet monstrous ego.
Bring it out. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this is Gretchen Heffernan of Backlash Press, backlashpress.com,
Yes.
and do check them out.